Hello learners, welcome again. So in the last lecture, I have discussed about how we can do import the data in R. Then we have done some of the basic computation like frequency analysis, and under frequency analysis we have calculate the simple frequency. Then we have calculated the cumulative frequency, and after that we have seen how we can do the relative frequency on a particular data set. We have also seen in both the way. We have seen through manually, then we have seen in the R, and in the R we have seen in a lengthy way also, and then in the last we have seen in shorter way just in two commands. Okay, so before discussing the other descriptive analysis concept like measure of central tendency, let us first discuss about functions. And if you have noticed that from in the week 4 and in this week also I am talking about lot many functions. Okay, so what these functions are. Okay, so let us understand this concept of function, and then we'll go ahead to measure of central tendency, and then we'll also create our own function for our different tasks. Okay, so you can consider function as a kind of a switch that is written for doing one kind of analysis. Okay, so what exactly it is? So if you have seen like this mean function, so this mean function is used for calculating the average of the values. Then we have also seen sum. So this sum is to calculate the sum of the values. Then we have seen the dim function. We have seen nrow. We have seen ncol. We have seen data dot frame. Okay, we have seen C. We have seen even this. We have seen in the last lecture. This is a shortcut to this function sequence. So there are like many functions are there. Okay, and this function made our task easier. Okay, so each time we won't be doing this kind of long analysis. If we will be doing this way, it will take our huge time. Okay, so that is why R has lot many functions, and it has some built-in function and some functions we can use by using the packages. Okay, so first we'll create our own functions. Okay, so to create a function in R, you have to remember this particular syntax. So the syntax to create a function in R is you have to name function. So this is my name of the function, and then you have to assign it, and then this is my function. So you have to call it like what exactly it is saying that. So this is a function. Okay. So this assignment is saying that this is a function, and what exactly it will do? It will do what exactly mentioned here. Okay, so whatever is given here, it will do the task. Okay, so this is a one time task, and once you have done with this task, you don't have to do it again and again. Okay, it will be saved. Okay, we'll see how we'll create these functions in R. So here I'm giving my function as a name Mohit, and I'm calling this function, and then I'm assigning that you have to do this task. Okay, so what function I'm creating? I'm creating a function, named it as a Mohit, and it will give the result every time whenever we'll call it that welcome to the NPTEL course. Okay, so if I do like this, now if I run this function, so as soon as this function is called, it will retrieve this value only. Okay, like say for example, I'm doing like this. Okay, so the task assigned to this function is that you have to print welcome to the NPTEL course. Okay, that is, so this is very simple. So this is how we can create a function. Let us now create one more functions. So I am creating another function, named it as a Mukesh, and using this. So this is my name of the function, and I am saying that this is a function. Now I am saying that the task of this function Mukesh is to print that hi everyone, I am teaching assistant for this course. So if I run this, and now if I call this function, yes, And now if I'll call it Mohit, welcome to the NPTEL course. Okay, so we have created the two functions whose task is to just print the text. There is no operations are there. Their task is simply just whenever they are called, they have to print this string. Okay. Now, if you have seen here that in this mean function or in this sum function or in this dim function, they require something to insert. Okay. So, if we run this sum function, like say for example, if I simply running this function sum, 0, because there is nothing is present. Okay. Or if I do like this mean, okay, something is missing. Okay. So all these function require something to do the computation. Okay. Once you assign the value, once you give here like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or here, it will calculate the mean or maybe the sum and it will give the value. Okay. But the function what we have created, this Mukesh, Mohit, for these two functions there is no such requirement. So the only thing is that whenever this function is called, it will give the results. Okay. So whenever we will be creating the function, we will give some argument, then only our task will be easier for our data analysis. So we'll create now a function which is a argument based. So this particular value whatever come here is known as argument. Now we will create one function with single argument and then we will create the function with double arguments. Okay. So say for example, I am creating a function Priyanka, and what I am doing is whatever the value is assigned here, it will be multiplied by 2. Okay. If I am running this, now if I call Priyanka, see the same whatever the error came here, that there is like argument is missing in mean, the same error is showing here. Okay. So what my value is, say for example, now I am taking 3. So now I am taking 3. If I run this like this, okay. So what exactly it does? As soon as the value is assigned here to there is 3, so the function take that value and multiply it by 2 and give the results. Okay. Or like say for example, I am doing like this 3, 4, 5, and now first I am creating this object, and now if I am calling this way, is showing 690. Okay. If you have noticed here that one thing what exactly I have done is that, so writing like this or like this, it is also giving the results, it is also giving the results. Okay. So though it is working, but it's a as a standard practice, don't give space after your like name of the function. Okay. There is no as such requirement of giving the space. So always give the name of the function and then the brackets and then your argument, whatever the argument is there in that function. Okay. Now if you see here that we have created 3 functions, one is Mohit, one is Mukesh and another is Priyanka. Okay. All these 3 functions I have just taken as an example one, but they are like, they are not, these names are not saying that what task they are doing. Okay. If you see the example here, that this mean function is there, so we can understand that this particular function calculate the mean or this particular calculate the sum. Okay. But if we instead of this, if we use like this name Mukesh, okay, we can create a function called Mukesh which do the addition of the values. Okay. We can create a function named as Mohit or some other names which do the all operations. But whenever like you will be having lot many function like 10 to 20s, okay, for a practice or for understanding the concept of function, it's recommended that you create this kind of names of a function. But whenever you are creating a function for your analysis for a long term, always use the specific name functions, okay. So say for example you are creating a function to calculate the square root, okay. So instead of keeping the name Mukesh, you can use this function like square r or square root, okay, like that, okay. So it will be easier for you for creating the function in the same day and doing the analysis on that particular day. It will be like easier to know, okay, I have created a function Mohit which will result the string welcome to NPTEL course. But like say for example I am doing after some time, maybe after 1 year, I may not remember what exactly I have assigned, okay. So it's a good practice that you give the some names that is very intuitive, that gives the idea that what exactly this function will do, okay. So until now we have discussed about two kind of a functions. So one kind of a function is Mohit and Mukesh, where there is no argument is required, and then there is a second kind of a function where a argument is required like Priyanka, okay. For to run the function Priyanka, you have to give the some argument, okay. Now we will see the example of two arguments if we have to create a function of with two arguments. So I am creating a function addNum. So what addNum is doing? addNum is adding the two numbers, and it require like two arguments, and whenever the two values are given, the addition to be done. Okay. If I run this, so I got this. My function is created. Now if I do like this, okay. So this is my function is created that add numbers, okay. Now if I do like this, unused arguments. So this is the error it will come, that because there are only two argument is there, but for the sum function if you do like that, so it is working fine, and it will also work fine with two value also, okay. So this is based on like how the function has been written and what are the arguments are given and what are the standard requirements. So that is what you have to remember whenever you are creating a function, that if you are creating a function, you have the given the proper kind of arguments, okay. You can't use a function without a argument and then you will calculate any of the operations, okay. Now like say for example, if I am doing like this Mukesh, comma 2, comma 3. Again, it is showing here is the unused argument. So this unused argument is showing that it doesn't require, like something is missing. Okay, either the argument is not defined or like it's a function where no argument is required. For this Mukesh function, no argument is required. If I do like this, and if I run this Mukesh, so my function is already created, so it does not require arguments. Okay. Now take it in another example where like we are calling multiple operations, and then we'll see what exactly the result is. Okay. I have created this function, and now if I run this, it's 5. Okay. So how this 5 comes? This 5 came from here, 2 plus 3. Okay. If I do here like this, B star 3. Now if I'll run this, it's 9. Okay. Because A is here 2 and B is 3, and our last operation is B star 3. Okay. So you have to remember this, that whenever you are defining the function, it will return the last operation value. Okay. Now take another example that if you want to use the earlier operations. So what happened here is that here these were computed, but these value were not assigned to A. Okay, that is why A plus B was 2 plus 3 5. So what we will get the answer like 2 star 2 4 and 4 plus 3 7. So to do that, what we have to do is we have to assign the value first, that whatever the operation is there, to A, and then we have to get the result. Okay. So if I do like this, now if I run this, my result is 7. Earlier my result was, if you see here, my result was 5, because if we see here only the value 5 came, and this value 5 came because only this operation was computed by the function, not this operation. But here what exactly happened, this particular A star 2, whatever the value is there, it is assigned to A, and then on this A, the next operation is done, A plus B, and that is how we got the value 7. Okay. So this is how you can create your own functions, and you can write your task specific function, whatever like you want to do the operations. So as a practice, I request you to create some function with your name, with different kind of operations, and do share with us in the discussion forum. Okay. So now I'll discuss about the measure of central tendency, how we can calculate this mean, median, mode in R. Okay. So to start with, the first thing, like we import the data, we have already imported. Let again first see our data set. So this is our data set. If I run this, okay. So this is our data set where values are there. So in 2019 there is one publication, in 2021 there is one, 2022 there is 5 publication, 2023 one publication. Now how we used to calculate the mean manually? So to calculate the mean, what we used to do, we do the sum of these value. So this value sum is 8, and then the number of values, okay, n. So n is here 4. So the mean is 2. Okay, very simple. The same way we use the mean in R. So to calculate the mean in R, first we will do the sum of those frequency. So how we will do that? So we will use the sum function. As soon as we run this, our 8 came, but the value came here at 8. Then I am assigning to this. Now if I run this is done. Now we will calculate the number of observation. So how we will do that? We will use this function len. So this is 4. Now if I run this, and if I check the value of this, 4. Okay. So we got the sum of the our frequency, it's 8, and we have got the number of observation, that is 4. So now what mean is? Mean is the ratio of the sum of the frequency by number of observation. So I'll do here like this. So this is my sum, and this is my number of observation. If I run like this, run, it's 2. So whatever the result we have got from our manual analysis, the same answer we got it here. So this mean FQ return the 2 value. Okay. So this is how we have calculated the mean. So by default there is a like one default function is there in R which is used to calculate the mean. But if we don't have any such function, we can create our own function also. Okay. How we will do that? what we have to do? We have to just simply call this function mean fq1. It is a function, and so it takes only one value, that is frequency. Now after that, what operations we are doing? We are first doing the sum fq. So whatever the value is assigned, we are first seeing the sum, and after that we are calculating the length also. Then we are doing like this. And if I run this like this, too, okay. So this is how we can create our own function mean. Like here, what we have created mean fq1 is a function which is used to calculate the mean in a data set. Okay, we don't want to use the inbuilt function. Okay, so this is how it gives the better understanding of how the concept works in R. Okay, how we can define our own functions. So we can save this, and the next time whenever we have to use this mean fq1, we can just simply run it and we can call it this function. Okay, so now, though in this case we have a inbuilt function in R that is mean, so we'll check the result with that also. If I do like this, so the answer is 2. So this answer is also 2, and the manual what we have calculated is also 2. So the average value of publications are 2. So this is how you can use the functions in R by either creating your own functions or using the inbuilt function, or by using some external packages and then importing those packages. Okay. Now we will discuss about the second concept in the measure of central tendency, is that median. Okay. So median is the kind of measure that does not affect by the like outliers, or if it is any extreme values is there. Okay. So say for example, if you see in this particular data set, this 5 is a extreme value. Okay. If you see in this kind of data set, there is a common average kind of thing is there. Like if we remove this 5 from this data set, and then we'll calculate the average. So in 19, 21, 23, the average publication is 1. Okay. But in 2022, there are like 5 publication. Okay. This is one outlier, a kind of a outlier which affected the mean. So that is why we use median to calculate central measure what exactly where the data is. Okay. So to calculate the median manually, what we used to do, first we arrange the data in either ascending or descending order. So like say for example this. Now if the number of observations are odd, then it will be the whatever the length will be there, it will be the middle value. Okay, like if it is like one more value is here, so the median is this 2 value. So in our case, the number of values are even, and these are 4 values. So what median is? Median is the second value and third value, 1 plus 1 by 2, that is 1. If we see in the mean, it was our mean was 2, and but our median is 1. How we will calculate this in R? Let us see now. So to calculate the median, what we have to do is, first we have to order the data. So we will be ordering the data. Our data is ordered. So what exactly it returned? It returned that this value is at 1, 2 and this particular value, because our data set, if you see here, is df dot fq 1151. So what exactly it is showing here is that okay, this will be at the first location, this will be at the second location, but this 5 will go at the fourth location and this will come at the third location. Okay, so that is done, and now we will do the order. Okay, so our ordering is done. Ordering is done in this sense because that was the highest value 5 and we have kept it as on the fourth location. Now we will be like counting the number of observations, that whether we have even or odd. Here the number of observations are even, so the median will be the average of the two middle values. In our case the number of observations are 4. So what we have to do is we have to calculate the average. Average will be df order data set and at the second value, and then plus the set 2, then the third value, and divided by, if I run this, our median is 1 and we can say now med df So our data set has a median of 1. So that value we have allocated to metdef. So this is how we can calculate the median by our own calculation. But there is one inbuilt function is there what we can use to calculate the median. We'll see now that one. So this median is a function which is used to calculate the median. So now if I run this is 1. So what we have done as a lengthy way, we have first ordered the data set and then we have seen that what are the number of values are there, and like in our case it was even. So we have calculated the average of the second and third value, and then after that we have assigned that value to a particular object, that this is a median value. Okay, but here this inbuilt function is there for the median. You don't have to do all these operations, but this is how you will get the understanding what that how these functions are working. Okay, so our mean is done, median is done. So now in R there is no inbuilt functions are available for calculating the mode. Okay, we have the inbuilt functions for mean, we have the functions for median, but we don't have the functions for mode. So how to do that? For again we have to write a function, but to write a function we must first understand that how we will calculate the mode as a manual way. Okay, how we used to calculate when we have data using pen paper way. Okay, so first we will calculate the mode by manually, and then we'll see how we can create a mode in R by creating our own functions. Okay, or there are like packages are also available which we can use to calculate the mode. I'll show you that also. Okay, so mode is a measure of a central tendency which is used for counting the number of occurrence of categorical data. Say for example in 2019 someone has published 5 publications, and out of these 5 publications 3 are in open access and other 2 are in the closed access. Now here the mode is the most occurrence. So the most occurrence value is open access. Okay. because the occurrence of open access is 3 and closed access is 2. So this is how we calculate the mode as a manual way. Now we'll see how we will calculate the mode in R. So to calculate the mode, so first thing what we have to do is we have to count the occurrence. So here the most occurred value is like 1, okay, in this case. So if I see here for this particular case, I am assigning it because this name is becoming too big. I am assigning to another object called x. So this x, so this x is just a frequency, okay. So I'll just table it. So what exactly? So this was our data set 1151, 2019 1, 2021 1, 22 5 and 23 1. Now we have tabled it. Tabled it means these we have tabled these 1 1 1. So the occurrence of 1 is 3 times and the occurrence of 5 is 1. So this is what it's showing. So I'll create this table. Now we have already calculated the occurrence of each of the value. So there are like 1 is occurred 3 times and the 5 is only once. So we have to see that which value is occurred maximum time, okay. So for that we will use the maximum function, and if you see that it is showing that 3, okay. So the 3 is the maximum time a value has appeared. So I'll assign it to this, and this is our value, okay. So there is a value 1 which is appeared 3 times, okay. Now we will be checking the value which is occurred maximum time. So in our table, so we will be using that again this. So if I do like this, it will check where exactly the number of frequency has highest. So for the occurrence of 1, it is showing true. That means the value 3 is for this one, okay, and this it is showing false because 5 doesn't appeared 3 times. So that is why it's showing false. Now we will only select the value which have appeared the maximum time, okay. So this is way. So that is our 1. Now if I give the names to this is 1, okay. So 1 is like, if you have seen here, like this 1 is appeared in the string, okay, it's not numeric, okay, and our data is a kind of a numeric, but for this understanding I considered it as a categorical data, okay. So I'll make it as numeric, and then like I'll assign to mode value. Now if I check the mode value, is 1, okay, and the maximum frequency is 3, okay. So in this particular data, I'm not talking about the 1920, the whole earlier data set, or I'm talking about this data where we have occurrence of 1 3 times and 5 is only 1 time. That is why for mode of this data set is the value 1 which is occurred 3 times, okay. Now what are the things we have done step by step? We'll create a functions the same way what we have created the function for mean, here mean fq1. In the same way we will create the function for mode. So all these operation will put it under the function type, okay. So our this is created. Now if I do like this, so it is showing that there is a value which is occurred 3 times, okay. If you have noticed here that only one value is printed, okay, 3 is printed, not 1, okay. So this was I was discussing when we were creating the function, okay. So the last, whatever the last operation is, it gives the value of that only, okay. But there are like a better way to calculate the mode of a data set, to use a package. We have already discussed how to install the package. So to calculate the mode in R, we need a package called Dex tool. We can install it, and we can install it by here also, and it is showing here, so I think we'll use this option, and this package will be installed. After the installation of this package, we have to call the library. We'll call this library, and now we'll run the mode function. Okay, we have defined our function as n mode. Okay, but they have defined the function as mode. So I'll run this. So it is showing here that one is the value which is occurred 3 times. Okay. So this is about the three of the measure of central tendency, that one is mean, median, mode. We have discussed about that how we can create our own functions, and there are like some inbuilt functions are there, and also how we can use the function which are in some external package. Okay. So for mode, we have created our own function also, and we have used the function of the external package. Okay. So I request you all to use the practice data set and perform all these operations, calculate the mean, median, mode by calculating the lengthy way and then in the shorter way, and do let us know your experience of doing the analysis. I'll see you in the next lecture where I'll discuss about the measure of dispersion. Okay, thank you.